the sharing, and here is a brief introduction about our speaker, Dd SK Lim. Dd SK is a practicing civil and structural professional engineer. He was in Meta Lodge as the ESCO in charge of overseeing the construction of their new completed building. He is also a member of the Great Leadership Awakening with Dharma, doing Dharma Duta outreach work. After his sharing, we'll be having a Q&A session, which will be answered by Dd SK, Prof Wong, and also Dd Joseph. Dd Joseph, the director of a family company, is the past president of University Malaya Buddhist Society in 1980. He is also the founding chairman of Pengarang Buddhist Society. So feel free to ask any questions after this. Now I'll pass it over to our speaker, Dd SK Lim. Sorry, Dd SK, you are muted.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone is well today. I would like to just share screen here. Right. Okay. Okay. Today's talk is on 5 wonderful precepts. Before that, let me just click on the share computer sound. Okay. Okay, let me get it clear. Okay, today's talk is on the 5 wonderful precepts. All Buddhists are familiar with the precepts. We just chanted the precepts just now after the 3 refuges. But today's talk, the keyword is actually wonderful. All of us normally chant the precepts with a sense of having to abstain from the killing and stealing, etc. And I think the tendency is for us to think that it is something that is very difficult to do. But actually, if you look into another way as we go along this talk, these are the very 5 wonderful precepts. By using the right view and right intention and mindfulness in our practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, we can actually experience these wonderful precepts. Okay. Now, all Buddhists observe the precepts after they have taken the refuge in the Triple Gem. And as the precepts represent the foundation of all virtuous action, as well as the moral standard for them. Taking precept is very similar to students following the rules of their school, or people abiding by the common law in the society. The only difference is that the school rules and the laws are external restriction, while Buddhist precepts are a form of self-discipline and are thus internal regulations. It's just like a person driving on a smooth expressway or highway fail to obey the traffic laws. Accident may be caused. In the same way, a person who does not observe the precept, then he will face the risk of breaking the rules and attracting troubles during his life. Thus, it is essential for a Buddhist to observe the precept, and we keep them because we know that it is the right choice. Now, the precepts are found in the Abhisanda Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, the Book of 8. The Book of 8, this Abhisanda Sutta starts with the 3 refuges, and then after that it followed by the 5 great gifts. That is why it's the Book of 8. And it reads here that now there are these 5 gifts, 5 great gifts, original, long-standing, traditional, ancient, unadulterated from the beginning, that are not open to suspicion, will never be open to suspicion, and are unfolded by the knowledgeable contemplatives and Brahmins, which 5. And it goes on to talk about the first great gift, which is abstaining from taking life, as this gives freedom from danger, freedom from hostility, and freedom from oppressions, limitless numbers of living beings. In giving freedom from danger, hostilities, and oppressions to others, one gains a share in limitless freedoms from danger, hostility, and oppressions. This is the first great gift, and it goes on to go for the next 5 gifts, the next 4 gifts of not stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and intoxicants. Now, it is also found in the Dhammapada 246, 247. Whoever destroys lives, whoever destroys living beings speaks falsehood. Who in the world takes which is not given to him, or goes to with another wife, or takes distilled fermented drinks. Whatever man indulges does exhibits the roots of himself even here in this very world. Basically, it's just that if you break the precepts, you plant the seeds, and then it take roots, and that roots will actually be uprooted in this very life itself. Now, just like the Four Noble Truths, we always say that it is actually being seen at it very negatively. You know, just like Four Noble Truths of suffering, a lot of people actually change it to happiness. Same as the 5 precepts, we actually look into it as also very negative, because it's talk about killing and stealing. But then we can actually also revert it to be in a positive sense. Just like the first one of not killing, I'll protect and support life and encourage the fulfillment of potential for love and understanding in others. It's not harming. Number 2 is the not stealing. I will take only what is freely given and vow to practice gratitude and generosity. The 3rd precept, I will respect and support ongoing relationship, honor my commitments, and practice discernment between the beauty of eros as a feeling and the compulsiveness to act it out. Basically, the beauty eros is a beauty God, and the feeling. So it discern between looking at it as a feeling and as a compulsion or an emotion. The 4 precepts of not lying, I will say what is true, useful, and timely, and practice deep listening such that both my speaking and listening reflect loving kindness and compassion. And the 5th precept, I will maintain a clear and alert mind that's aware of its motivation, moment to moment, such that it can discern between what is the cause of suffering and what is not the cause of suffering. So we can actually look it into a way of very positive, of love, potential, gratitude, generosity, compassion, and also maintaining mindfulness. Okay, the first precept, refrain from destroying living beings. I will act for the welfare and happiness of all beings. By not killing, I will value life. I will touch the world with kindness and compassion. Now, the first precept is also very intimately connected to our inner life as it relates to our motivations, values, emotions, and belief. To live by this precept is more than just avoiding killings. It touches on our capacity for goodness, our virtue, mindfulness, love, compassion, generosity, and wisdom are all companion to this first precept. In addition, freeing ourselves from the distortment of selfishness, greed, or aversion, creates the condition for naturally wanting to avoid harming people. Now, the first precept has implication in many areas in our life, some of them personal and some of them in the society. Close to home, it may relate to such issues as eating meat, hunting, having arms, self-defense, or even pest management. Both at personal and society level, the precept is connected to question of abortion, of euthanasia, and also on being a vegetarian. More widely, the first precept also relates to the question about war or military service, capital punishment, the culling of wildlife, or even the laboratory research with animals. Now, today is the sharing with the Buddhist Medical Society here, the Monash Buddhist Society. So these three areas that I'm touched on will definitely be an area that will be constantly be debated in the medical field. Like the first one, people always associate Buddhism with being a vegetarian. But most schools of Buddhism, although most schools of Buddhism encourage vegetarianism, usually is considered a personal choice, not a requirement. Being vegetarian is encouraged because it means to have a mind of compassion for animals and treating them equally. Then we talk about Buddhism and abortion. Now, nearly always abortion is considered to be a violation of the precepts. However, Buddhism also avoids rigid moral absolutes. A pro-choice position that enables women to make their own moral decision is not inconsistent with Buddhism. Then what about Buddhism and euthanasia? Do Buddhism support euthanasia? Personally, I feel that such action is not real compassion, but what I would call it as a sentimental compassion. Who of us has the ability to see whether an action would in fact be conducive to a person's greatest welfare? What if the suffering is an animal? Most of us has been advised to euthanize a pet or have been found to be injured. Should the animal be put out of misery? Most Buddhists are likely to support voluntary passive euthanasia. The Dalai Lama has been quoted saying mercy killing was permissible in certain exceptional circumstances under Buddhist philosophy. But human life is precious. And he said, I think it is better to avoid it. Okay, what constitutes a violation of killing? It said that there's actually 5 elements that must be present in order to constitute a violation of killing. One, that there is a living being. 2, there's a perception that the being is a living being. That means that that being is alive. 3, that there's a volition or intention of killing. And 4, that the killing is carried out. And 5, the being dies. So this is like a litmus test, like a standard a checklist to see whether you actually constitute a violation of killing. I'll play these slides. The Buddha talked about this animal killing of animals and killing of beings. How is it against it? You will see the Dhammika Sutta and the Nalaka Sutta in this particular slide. Both of these slides basically teaches the keeping of the precepts and to prevent killing, and you shouldn't be killing for your own happiness. Okay, we come to the second precept. No stealing means not encroaching into other people's property or wealth. To put it simply, taking anything that does not belong to oneself, either privately or publicly owned without permission, constitutes stealing. And to rob others in broad daylight is also a form of theft. Stealing is a violation of basic and important precept. Now, this is very clear as far as stealing is concerned. But then we have when we look at other areas whereby it's actually stealing, also part of the stealing precepts. Like wording the second precept of not taking what is not given or without permission. The Buddhist tradition presents a higher standard and a greater clarity for ethical behavior than simply not stealing. From this standpoint, things have to be clearly and freely offered before we take something. This precludes relying on ambiguity, deceit, force, or exploitation or intimidation to acquire what belongs to others. No matter how small or how low in monetary value, if it's not given, we don't take it. When practiced thoroughly, this precept extends to not borrowing something without permission. Then on the forced labor, the second precept is applied to how and what we consume by refraining from buying anything that originates from people who hasn't given their labor or resources freely. For example, we won't buy clothes made in country where people are forced to work involuntarily. We will also avoid using natural resources acquired against their wishes and the rights of the local people from where the resources came. Then what about fear? Now, not taking what is not given can relate to the services of others performed for us. In the complexity of the interpersonal relationship, fear can be easily motivated people to do things they would prefer not to do. Example, employees may feel that they can't say no to the boss request. Spouses may agree to do things they don't want to because they fear straining the relationship. Silence should not be automatically be taken as a consent. Instead, we should ask ourselves if the other person is doing something for us out of sense of coercion or of their own free will. Okay. The third precept on sexual misconduct. No sexual misconduct means never having any sexual activities that occur outside a husband and wife relationship. Thus, rape, prostitution, bigamy, seducing any other person who is not your marital partners, obstructing the happiness of others' family's life, and any other immoral sexual affairs are all violations of the precepts. One who secretly loves a person but never takes any action may not have violated this precept. However, if the mind is thinking of impure thoughts, then he or she will not be living in a free life, because the purpose of taking precept is also to purify one's body and mind. Sexual misconduct is a fuse to an unsettled society. If a married couple does not commit any sexual misconduct, their family will be happy, harmonious, and the moral standard of the society will be maintained. Okay, this I'll show you a slide by Venerable Chuan Guan. When I read his biodata, he's actually a Mahayanist monk, but he actually also does a study on the Theravadan Pali Canon. So let's see what has he got to say on the sexual misconduct. Sorry, I just pushed on the. A bit more.
You look into the Vinaya, it does go into some stipulation, but the summary of it is that it includes various individuals of different categories, and they are all the categories that you shouldn't be having sexual relations with. Yeah. As a general rule of thumb, that can be applied to all precepts, or in fact, life in general. I usually ask people not to consider the precepts as the first thing to think about. You should simply ask yourself, easier said than done, but I must still say that. Ask yourself, if I do this, can I live with it? If I do something, can I live with it? If you, after doing it, you're quite happy, does it mean it's okay? No, not yet. Huh? Then you ask yourself, can your family and friends live with that? If they know that you did it, and this is not just the third precept, but all things in general. If your family and friends know that you did it, would it be okay? If they are also okay, don't be so quick to decide to go and do it, because maybe your friends and family are also, you know. Then you ask yourself, how about society at large? How about law? Is it against the law? And if all the different litmus tests is okay, then you ask yourself, is it against the precepts? And even after that, you manage to find one loophole, then you ask yourself, or not loophole, but you find one clause that says it's okay, then you ask yourself, what is the intent behind doing it? And then you should be quite safe. Huh? Then you should be quite safe. Of course, if you're a regular meditator, then the last question becomes the first question, because you will be keenly aware of your intent. You'll be keenly aware of your intent. Then it becomes quite clear. You don't. In many cases, you don't even have to consider the precepts. Yeah. Precepts should be almost like a last line of defense to consider, and not simply, hey, precepts it, never say anything, then I can do it. Because if you look at the teachings, the Buddha didn't comment a lot on people's life. Yeah, there are a lot of rules for the monastics, but not that many rules for lay people. Yeah. Buddhism is a very free religion. Yeah. Free in the sense that there's a lot of freedom. Yeah. The Buddha, the monks and nuns don't go around policing your life. Why? Because it is a religion of wisdom. Yeah? Religion of compassion and wisdom. So we should be living our life with this consideration. Yeah? Then things become a lot easier.
Okay, you see that he has mentioned that we don't just think about the precepts, how we practice the precepts, by actually just discerning of our action and how the cause and effect on oneself, our family, to society at large. Beware of our intention. That's what I think some of the messages that he's bringing up. Okay, the fourth precept, not lying. No lying means not speaking any frivolous words, such as lying, slandering, harsh language, and words which will stir up trouble between other people. Exaggeration is also a violation of this precept in Buddhism. Lies of convenience, what we call white lies, is also breaking the precept. Example, hiding the truth from a patient or family who is diagnosed with terminal illness in order to protect his or her emotional well-being is actually breaking the precepts. It's a white lie. While we imagine that we tell certain lies out of compassion for others, it is difficult to spot the damage that we may do in the process. By lying, we may deny them the access to reality and their resulting ignorance, and sometimes harm them in ways we did not anticipate. In certain situations, it is better to remain silent. In the Samyutta Nikaya 45, the part of the Eightfold Path, they mention about what is right speech, abstaining from lying, from divisive speech, from abusive speech, and from idle chatter. This is part of the Noble Eightfold Path. I want to show you another video by our Venerable Chuan Guan again, and he talks about what is actually right speech.
So when we look at the teachings, some people say that, oh, you're so negative. Still is avoiding, abstaining, cannot. Yeah, but actually it's not cannot. Can you lie? Oh, someone said yes. Yeah. Actually, that's the correct answer. Depending on how you understand the word can. Let me ask you, can you fly? You cannot. Why? Because you don't have the ability to fly. So can you lie? As long as you have a mouth, you have the mind that is functioning, and you have the intent to lie, you can lie. Yeah? Of course, you also need someone to understand your speech. Then you can lie. If you're alone in the desert, you cannot lie. Yeah? But if you're alone in the desert, and as a result that you didn't lie, there's no merit. If you're at home sleeping, and because you're sleeping, you produce no speech, and so you don't lie, is there merit? No. If a baby, while being too young, is not even able to move his head, so he cannot speak, he cannot lie, is there merit? There's no merit as well. Yeah? So no lying is not simply about one person. It's about how we produce speech towards others with the intent to lie or not. Yeah? Now, when we say we can lie, we are saying we have the ability to lie. But should we lie? Of course we shouldn't lie. And so in Buddhism, it's not so much that you cannot lie. Or if you lie, then the Buddha can punish you. If you lie, it's more about saying, having learned right view and right intent, and you learn from the right view and right intent, you learn about cause and effect. You learn about karma. You learn about the consequences of our speech. That both in the present, it creates harm for ourselves and others, if not managed properly, and also in future. Not just next week, next month, but also in future life. So in all these ways, we realize that speech that is not tuned, not well tuned, tuned towards happiness, then it brings about suffering. On this basis, we avoid and abstain from lying. To abstain from lying, when we thoroughly, completely see the benefits of speaking the truth, when you see that lying in the long run brings no benefit, when you honor right speech, when you honor truly the truth, then under no circumstances, even when it's very trying, even when your own benefit is affected, you will not speak a lie.
Okay, so you can see the sharing by Venerable is not just asking ourselves whether this precept is whether you are lying or not. Sometimes it's to just ask ourselves, applying right view, right intention, and the cause and effect, to discern or to actually ask ourselves whether we are actually doing any harm to us or to others now and in the future. Okay, the fifth precept, not taking intoxicants. No intoxicants means mainly not drinking alcohol, but it also involves not taking any stimulus or anything that causes one or to lose conscience or conduct immoral behavior. For example, marijuana, opium, sniffling glue, morphine, or for that matter of fact, anything that leads to heedlessness. Now, the first four of the five precepts are the ones that constrain behavior or our action, and that may cause sins and transgressions. Thus, they are rules against the evil deeds. Not drinking alcohol is a feature of the five precepts, because even though alcohol by itself is not a sin, it is still a major cause of a loss in self-discipline and the commitment of crime. Thus, in these final precepts is a rule against acts that may obstruct the well-being of others. Now, there's an ancient story where there's a layman in India, after drinking alcohol, stole a chicken from his neighbor, which is a violation of the no stealing precepts, and then killed it for food to go with the alcohol, a violation of no killing precepts. And his neighbor started to look for her chicken. The man lied to her by saying that he has not seen it, a violation of no lying precepts. At the same time, he saw how beautiful this neighbor was, so he sexually harassed her, a violation of no sexual misconduct precepts. Drinking dull one's awareness of shame and conscience. And because of drinking, these precepts of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and lying are all violated. So you see, it's important to abstain from drinking, taking intoxicant, and be heedless. Okay, now we have a look at the Noble Eightfold Path. The precepts are actually in the right action, right livelihood, and right speech, our Sila part of the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, training in Samadhi, which is the right effort, right stillness, and right mindfulness, ensures that living by the precept is not simply adhering to the particular rules. When our virtues and wholesome inner state are developed, we are naturally motivated to act in ways keeping by the precepts. And when we are happy, mindful, compassionate, we are not inclined to kill. Rather, we understand that killing any living beings diminishes our inner well-being and our happiness. Training in Panya, wisdom, is developing, which is the right view and right intention here, is developing our understanding and insight. One way wisdom is cultivated is through investigation. When we are about to act breaking the precepts, we can stop to investigate the situation. In particular, it is useful to investigate our potential action, their intention, and the consequences or the alternatives to them. So finally come to this slide, the wonderful precepts. You know, why are they so? I mean, we have gone through it, and why are they so wonderful? I understand that these 5 precepts are wonderful precepts. Even though these 5 precepts, their basic principle is not to offend others, But when one does not offend others, but shows respect to he or she, one will be free. For example, no killing is not causing any harm to others' lives. No stealing is where one does not invade other people's property. No sexual misconduct is not offending other people's honors and integrity. Not lying is not offending other people's good name. And no drinking or taking intoxicant is not offending one's own intellect, thus not offending others. It is a common misconception that taking precepts is about tying oneself down. Thus, certain people will say, why observe precepts? It's only a burden. The fact that if you look at people in jail, all of them has violated one or more of the 5 precepts. For instance, murder, assault are all violation of no killing precepts. Corruption, embezzlement, robberies, violation of no stealing precepts. Rape, prostitution, bigamy are violation of no sexual misconduct precept. Defamation, falsifying evidence are all the no lying precepts. Drug dealing, drug taking are the no intoxicants precept. It is due to the violation of these precepts that a person has lost his or her freedom. Therefore, observing these precepts is always a way of abiding by the common law. So those who observe the 5 precepts and those who have a clear understanding of this precept are the ones who truly enjoy freedom. Therefore, the real meaning of the precept is freedom, not burden. In addition, if we do not kill but protect lives, we enjoy health and longevity. If we do not steal but give generously to the poor and needy, we enjoy wealth and will be honored. If we do not commit sexual misconduct but respect other people's honor and integrity, we will possess a fortunate and harmonious family. If we do not lie but praise others, we'll enjoy a good reputation. And if we do not drink alcohol and keep away from other intoxicants, such as drugs, we'll have a healthy body, as well as high awareness. So you can see, keeping these precepts are wonderful. You know, we can have good health, we got enjoy well, be honored. We are fortunate and have harmonious family. We have good reputation. We got high awareness, and the important thing, we are free. There's no burden in us. So that's why we say, I understand that these 5 precepts are wonderful precepts because they are conducive to the welfare and the happiness of both myself and others. Keeping the precept is also the gist of the Buddha teaching, Dhammapada 183, to abstain from all evil, to cultivate what is wholesome, and to purify our mind. This is the gist of all Buddha's teaching. Okay, I think this is the end of my sharing today. I would like to, before I end, I'd like to acknowledge and have gratitude to Brother Tritek and the GLADIAN's Johor for helping me with some of the videos and slides. Gratitude to Dr. Punya Wong and the Monash Clinical School Buddhist Society for initiating this sharing. And my gratitude to all the brothers and sisters here in allowing me to make merits by this sharing. And may I share these merits with all? May all